Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How's everyone doing?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good to see you, Brother Greg. Calling in from the UK, right?
That's right, yeah. London.
London, mashallah.
Just let you know, I might have to leave a bit early because I think my dinner's going to be ready soon.
Okay, inshallah. That is, that is important, mashallah,
Yeah.
especially if you have a wife making it.
Well, yeah, and 3 kids as well. So,
Mashallah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, I'm doing well. Hope you're all well, inshallah. Good to see you all, Umar, hope you're staying warm in Canada. Inshallah. All right, we'll go ahead and get it's snowing again today. Let's go ahead. Well, if you ever want any warm weather, just come out here to Cairo. We're waiting. Apparently there's gonna be there's a good amount of foreigners here already, but I have word there'll be some Americans out here in the summer as well, inshallah. But we'll go ahead and get started. So Greg's dinner doesn't get cold, inshallah. All right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك عليه وعلى آله صلاة تخرجنا بها من ظلمات الوهم وتكرمنا بها بنور الفهم وتوضح بها عما أشكل حتى يفهم أنك تعلم ولا نعلم وأنت علام الغيوب ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. If you don't mind, who can we make the sisters, inshallah, Ryan, Yasmin, Ikram. I'm gonna make y'all co-host. So if you can let anyone in that's coming in late, inshallah. All right. قال المصنف رحمه الله ونفعنا الله وإياكم ببركاته في الدارين. إذن وتسبيح السجود والركوع سد يد تكبيره مع الشروع وبعد أن يقوم من وسطاه وعقده الثلاثة من يمناه. So the author, Imam Ibn Ashir, rahimahullah, he begins the next line, or rather we stopped in the middle of the line, on him saying sadr, which is letting one's arms hang by one side. The moment every Maliki has been waiting for is to discuss sadr, right? So the first thing to note about sadr is note which section is he mentioning sadr in? Which section of salah are we talking about? Anyone? Which section of salah are we talking about? The mustahabbat, exactly. The mustahabbat of salah is what we're talking about. And the mustahabbat of salah, not the sunan, not the fara'id. And so the first thing to note is that this is an issue that people make a bigger deal out of than it actually is. And it's not actually a big deal. Whether in the Maliki madhab, it's a mustahab, or in other madhahib. In no madhab is it a fard to fold one's hands anywhere, or is it a fard to let one's hands by one side? Okay. And in fact, the only madhab that has a qawl that it is fard for a certain position is the Maliki madhab. There's a very minor opinion that it is fard to actually put one's hands by one side. That aside, though, it's not an issue of fard. It's not even an issue of sunnah. Okay. And so this is something that we should not make a big deal of. We shouldn't make a fitna of. And it is you can say it's from the signs of spiritual sickness. This is something that Imam Ibn Ata'illah, he notes that it is from the signs of spiritual sickness to focus on the mustahabbat and leave the obligatory. To focus on the mustahabbat and to leave the obligatory or the sunan. And so this is something we're learning in fiqh as well, is that we learn what to prioritize in our life, and we learn how we should prioritize things for our community in terms of teaching them and doing tarbiyah of them. So this is not an issue that is worth making a fight over. And I've seen people get in fights over it one way or the other. That being said, we as Malikis do hold that the strongest position that is the strongest sunnah is putting the hands to one side. And why is that? To understand this, let us first dispel the notion that all the ahadith talk about putting one's hands clasp one of the other, and this is called qabd. So from now on, we'll just use the terms qabd and sadl, okay? Qabd is to put one's hands like this, whether below the navel or above the navel. And sadl, or some people even putting above the chest these days. Maybe that's a qawl in the Hanbali madhab. Regardless, sadl is to put one's hands to a side, okay? Or irsal. So the first thing to note is that the strongest narration for qabd, that is the narration in Sahih Bukhari, right? Sahih Bukhari, the Sahihain are the greatest, the strongest hadith in general. And among them, Sahih Bukhari is stronger than Sahih Muslim, okay? So the strongest hadith, which is in Sahih Bukhari, is a hadith that is narrated by Imam Malik himself. The strongest hadith that is in Sahih Bukhari is a hadith that is narrated by Ibn Maslama to Imam al-Bukhari, and Ibn Maslama was a student of Imam Malik, and he narrated it from Abu al-Hazim, and he narrated it from Sahal ibn Sa'd, who was a Sahabi, and who was a younger Sahabi, so he passed away quite late. And some say that Imam Malik also sat with him, though he was quite young when he passed away. So this Sahabi's name is Sahal ibn Sa'd. Just for reference, I'm going to actually pull up the hadith so everyone can see. And the hadith is that كان الناس يؤمرون. The hadith is كان الناس يؤمرون. Let's see here. Here it is. The original narration is from the Muwatta of Imam Malik. كان الناس يؤمرون أن يضع الرجل اليد اليمنى على ذراعه اليسرى في الصلاة. Okay? That that Sahal ibn Sa'd was a Sahabi, radiallahu anhu, people used to be ordered to place their right hands on the left forearms in the prayer. So this is the strongest narration of this hadith. And this narration was narrated by who? By Imam Malik. And let me see, where did I feel like I can't see y'all anymore. You guys are still with me, right? Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm using a double monitor as well, so it's hard to see y'all. Okay. So Imam Malik in his Muwatta, he knows about this. That's why he narrated it. But not every hadith narrated in the Muwatta, is for the purpose of acting upon. And this is a very important distinction. Not every hadith that is in the Muwatta is to be acted upon. And this is a principle, especially that Malikis and Hanafis abide by. That not every Sahih hadith is to be acted upon. Why is that? Well, because one time somebody came to Imam Malik and they asked him actually about a different hadith. They asked him actually about the hadith, another hadith that is not acted upon in the Muwatta according to the Maliki madhab. And that hadith is that, let me see if I can find it here. That hadith is that, in any case, I can't find the exact wording in the hadith, but it's that Ibn Umar radiallahu anh narrated that he saw the Prophet ﷺ lifting the hands after ruku'. You know how after coming up from the ruku', some madhabs, primarily I believe the Shafi'is and the Hanbalis, they, with the Allahu Akbar from the ruku', they lift their hands. And this is the hadith from the hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anh. And somebody came to Imam Malik and asked him, why do you narrate this hadith, but you don't act upon it? Why do you narrate this hadith in your Muwatta, but you don't act upon it? And Imam Malik said, so that ignorant people like you don't think that I didn't know the hadith. He said, so that the juhal like you don't think that I don't know the hadith. So he did know the hadith, and he knew a great many hadith that he didn't act upon. And this is one example. Bay'ul khiyar is another example, without getting into mu'amalat. Being able to basically buy with a condition of guaranteed return, you could say, is bay'ul khiyar. So anyway, it's a section mu'amalat, and there are hadith there that Imam Malik narrated, and he explicitly said, but we don't act upon this. Okay? And why don't we act upon it? Now this comes to the second part. As I mentioned before, I've mentioned this quite a few times, but the practice of the people of Medina is something that is unique to the Maliki madhab. And it is because Imam Malik, he saw the practice of the people of Medina as a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ itself. And this is something that was common in Medina. It was not just something that Imam Malik took by, but it was a principle that was common among the scholars of Medina. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ passed away there. So the last sunnah that was narrated in Medina. The vast majority of the Khulafa, the Khulafa al-Rashidun, the vast majority of their rule was in Medina. Okay? Was in Medina. And the vast majority, almost 30 years of their rule was in Medina. Okay? And only for a short time did Imam Ali radiallahu anh rule from Kufa. So in this case, and on top of that, even when the rule had moved away from Medina, to Damascus eventually, they would always go back to the scholars of Medina. And in fact, there is a universally acknowledged council known as the Fuqaha as-Sab'a. The Fuqaha as-Sab'a. These were the 7 Fuqaha, and they were from the Tabi'een. And all the madhabs acknowledge that these were the greatest Tabi'een in terms of knowledge. Or they all acknowledge that these were the greatest Tabi'een in terms of knowledge, that fiqh issues were returned to. Okay? From the ruler in Damascus, they would return to these Fuqaha as-Sab'a. And chief among them was Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. These all were in Medina. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, whenever he had an issue, he would send for the people of Medina. So, this on top of the fact that Medina was kind of an untouched preservation of the Sunnah, in the sense that not many foreigners came and settled in Medina. Very few foreigners came and settled in Medina. Very few non-Muslims, if at all, came and settled in Medina. So the vast majority of these people were Tabi'een. And as testimony to that is Imam Malik's own retinue of teachers. 600 of them were Tabi'een. And note that Imam Malik said that, as we mentioned before, that he said, I have seen people in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, if they had wished, لو أقسم على الله لأبره. Basically, he was saying that whatever dua they would make, Allah would have granted to them immediately. Why? Because they were awliya of that level. Such a level that, we would wish one person like that was in many of our communities, right? But he said, I saw 70 of them. And sometimes in Arabic, that means a lot. So I saw a lot of them in Masjid al-Nabawi, but I never took knowledge from them. Why? Because he did not see them as people of knowledge. So among the people of knowledge that he saw remaining were still 600 tabi'een. Still 600 tabi'een. And among these people was, among the greatest of them was Nafi'. Nafi', who was the freed slave of Ibn Umar radiallahu anh. Ibn Umar radiallahu anh himself, he saw the Sahaba pray. Or sorry, he himself was a Sahaba, and he himself saw the Prophet ﷺ pray. And Nafi' was his freed servant who learned from him and taught Imam Malik. And from his teachers was Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri, who was known as the first compiler ever of hadith. The first compiler ever of hadith is Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri, and Imam al-Suyuti talks about that in his Alfiya and Hadith. And from his teachers was Ibn Hurmus, also a tabi'i. From his teachers was Rabi'atul Ra'i, also a tabi'i. From his teachers was the grandson of a Sahabi, which was the grandson of Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, basically the great grandson of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. From his teachers was Aisha bint Abi Waqqas, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, the daughter of Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, and so on and so forth. So many of the children of the Sahabi, many of the grandchildren of the Sahabi, many of the nephews of the Sahabi, many of the nieces of the Sahabi, many of the freed slaves of the Sahabi were all his teachers. And so what he would do when he was narrating Amal Ahl Medina, and Qadi Iyad talks about this in Tartib al-Madarik. Qadi Iyad, some of you may know him as the author of the Shifa on the rights of the Prophet ﷺ fi ta'rifi huquq al-Mustafa. And he was also a great Andalusian Maliki scholar. And he noted that people misunderstand what does Amal Ahl Medina mean. So he actually explained it. He said, Amal Ahl Medina is the ijma' of the people of Medina. Meaning the things that none of these people, that all of the mujtahidun, all of the people of fiqh in Medina agreed upon. So when Imam Malik says, now we come to the Mudawwana is a source text of the Maliki madhab. He says in the Mudawwana, it's the primary source text of the Maliki madhab, the strongest text of the Maliki madhab. He says in the Mudawwana, when Ibn al-Qasim asked him, Ibn al-Qasim is his student, he said, I asked him, or rather he said that Imam Malik said, about qabd, he said, I do not know of it. I do not know of it in fariḍah, in the obligatory prayer. Now, subhanAllah, I am laughing because some people who are not even part of the Maliki madhab, they come into the Maliki madhab. I've gotten questions about this. And there may be beginner students or students of knowledge in other madhabs. They come to the statement of Imam Malik and they try to interpret it themselves. La a'rifuhu fil fariḍah is not a statement that Imam Malik is making whimsically. This is a terminology that he uses to mean that the ijma' of Ahlul Medina, the ijma' of the people of Medina and the tabi'een of Medina is that, and the atba' tabi'een, is that he has not seen them do qabd in a fard prayer. He's not seen the fuqaha among them do qabd in a fard prayer. So what does this mean? This means that all these 600 tabi'een, he never saw them do qabd in a fard prayer. And this is the greatest possible evidence that the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the final sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, is that qabd is not in the fard prayer, but rather it is in nawafil prayers. Rather, it is in prayers that are supererogatory. And that is the position of the Maliki madhab, that in the fard prayer, it is mustahab, it is recommended to put your hands to one side. And in the nafil prayer, you can choose, if you want to cross your arms and do qabd. Okay, and nafil prayers like Taraweeh prayer, Shafa', Witr, any of those prayers. Okay, and we'll talk about them in the coming section. So I'll stop there. I know I took a considerable amount of time talking about sadal. In reality, once again, as we said, this is not an issue that people should get into fights over, but because people constantly attack the mashhur of the Maliki madhab in this mas'ala, it was necessary to expand on it. Okay? Any questions? If people do qabr, they put their hands in the Maliki madhab, it's flexible. You can put it below, above. Some scholars said below, some scholars said above the navel. Yeah. Though I haven't seen any scholars say on the chest, as I've seen many people do these days, almost to a ridiculous degree. A ridiculous degree. I've seen some people who literally cross their arms as if they're like a mummy, you know? They're about to enter qubur here. They cross their arms like this. I'm talking about men too, not even women. So, and it looks absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think that's the position of any madhab. But unfortunately, because people are taking their religion not from the fuqaha, we get these ridiculous situations. Anyway, any other further questions on sadl, on amal al-Madina, the practice of people in Medina, so on and so forth?
Sheikh, do any other madhahib recognize the amal of Ahlul Madinah, Sheikh? Or anything similar like that, that we have to follow the practice of Sahaba?
Yes, they all acknowledge that it's an evidence for the Malikis, first of all. They acknowledge that that's the strongest position according to the Maliki usul. And so that's also something that people try to say. It's like, oh, is it the mashhur of the Maliki madhab? Not only does the Maliki madhab say that, but Imam al-Nawawi says that in Sahih, in his Sharh on Sahih Muslim. He says that's the mashhur of the Maliki madhab. I believe it's Ibn Humam, the Hanafi scholar, the great Hanafi Egyptian usuli. He says that's the mashhur of the Maliki madhab. From the Hanbali school, I believe Ibn Qudama or Ibn Rajab, I believe it's Ibn Qudama, so that's the mashhur of the Maliki madhab. So the all of them acknowledge that this is the strongest position. In terms of the practice of the people in Medina itself, that was preserved in other madhahib as well, like the madhab of Imam Layth ibn Sa'ad, who said that doing sadl is mustahab. The madhab of Hassan al-Basri, Imam Hassan al-Basri, if you've heard of him, he was a great zahid and faqih and tabi'i, and all the lineages of tasawwuf, pretty much all of them go through Imam Hassan al-Basri. And he said the position is to put your hands by the side. And Imam al-Awza'i, he also acknowledged he said it's permissible either one, to put your hands to the side or to qabd. The issue is that these madhabs died out, right? So the only madhab that remains, and even among the Sahaba, it's well narrated that Abdullah ibn Zubayr, he not only did he said that this is mustahab, but it was narrated that one time when they were doing Umrah, or when he was in Mecca, because he was the ruler of Mecca for some time, he saw some people praying with their arms crossed. Yeah, that is doing qabd. And he went, and during the prayer, he forcibly put their hands down, which means he saw this perhaps as even something haram or severely disliked, right? Ibrahim al-Nakhai, who was the teacher of the teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa. Ibrahim al-Nakhai, a tabi'i and a teacher of the teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa, his position was to put your hands by the side. So the practice of the people in Medina was acknowledged universally. It's just the other madahib didn't take it as an evidence to a great degree. The Hanafis took it to, as far as I know, they took it to a lesser degree, though it's something we should check with the Hanafi scholar as well. But they did take it to a much, much lesser degree. And the Shafi'is and Hanbalis didn't take it because they came well after. The practice of the people in Medina was no longer applicable to them. They didn't meet the tabi'in of the people in Medina and grow up with them. So that's I hope that answers the question.
Sheikh.
Okay. All right then. With that, we will continue, inshallah, to less controversial topics.
See, Tariq, I'm sorry, I just have one question. So maybe I missed the first part. I was a little late. Sorry about that. So
No
where did you say the Amal of Medina? It's recorded in the Mudawwana you mentioned. I'm sorry, or was it a different text as well, or just the Mudawwana?
It's recorded in the Mudawwana primarily. That's the primary source text of the madhab, the Mudawwana. And that's a name that everyone who's on this journey of knowledge, inshallah, you should know. If you're just here to learn your Fard Ayn, not a big deal. But if you see yourself as a student of knowledge, definitely know the text called Mudawwana. But it's also recorded, Sayyidi Thana'ullah, and it's good to hear from you. It's also recorded in the other source texts of the madhab, and there are many other source texts. There are the 4 Ummahat, which is including the Mudawwana. You have the Utbiyah by Muhammad ibn al-Utabi. You have, what else do you have? You have the Wadiha, the Utbiyah, and the Mawaziyah, I believe, are the 4 source texts. And then you have source texts that are beyond that. Many, many other source texts, like the Mukhtasar of Ibn Abdul Hakam. You have the Mukhtasar of Abu Musab al-Zuhri. So, yeah, so you have many source texts, and all of these source texts, to a degree, do record the practice of the people in Medina. It's just that the strongest version of it is in the Mudawwana, much like the strongest ahadith are in Sahih Bukhari.
Okay. And I should have opened this book and looked into, but these are like in terms of like fatawas and stuff in the Mudawwana, or are they how are they recorded? I mean, like how the Sahih Bukhari has like different hadiths according to different chapters and stuff. How's the Mudawwana, I guess, recorded?
Yeah, I mean, you can open it up and see. I believe, I'm not sure if Mudawwana is translated, but it's actually recorded much like Ibn Ashir. So you will
Okay.
see that the chapters are in pretty much the same order or similar order that we are studying here in Ibn Ashir, which is why it's so beneficial to study these basic texts. They're your keys to the bigger texts. So when you open up Mudawwana, and Thana'ullah, I believe you know Arabic, right? To a degree at least, and you're studying Arabic, right?
Yes,
So,
correct.
mashallah. So I would encourage you and people like yourself, Google the Mudawwana and just look. Anytime you look at an Arabic text, usually the table of contents is at the back, right? So just scroll to the back and you just look at the table of contents. You'll see it's very similar to Ibn Ashir. You'll have a Babu Salah. Actually, you have 2 Babu Salah, but there's some minor differences. You have a Babu Sawm, Babu Zakah, Babu Hajj, and then you have the rest of the Mu'amalat sections as well.
Okay, inshallah. Barakallah fi Sidi.
Inshallah, if you can barakallah. So I encourage you to do that. Get your feet wet. It's like getting your feet wet in the pool, of knowledge.
Yeah, I need to do that. I just been relying too much on reading text with Sheikh. I just need to get more comfortable, I guess, reading the text on my own. So, inshallah.
Inshallah, yeah. And you don't have to read anything, but look at the table of contents. It's like a baby step, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. And this is the hadith, by the way, of raising your hands to the ears. أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم كان إذا افتتح الصلاة رفع يديه حذو منكبيه وإذا رفع رأسه من الركوع رفعهما كذلك. This is the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar in the Muwatta. So very sound hadith. And the soundest version, once again, is in the Muwatta, narrated by Imam Malik. And the very reason he narrated this is to show people that he knows the ahadith and he is purposefully not acting upon them. And for the vast majority of time, it's because of the practice of the people of Medina. All right. Now let's move on to simpler subjects, inshallah. He says, وَبَعْدَ أَنْ يَقُومَ مَنْ وُسْطَهُ وَعَقْدُهُ أَوْ تَكْبِيرُهُ مَعَ الشُّرُوعِ. That the takbir, when starting your prayer, these are all the mustahabbat, the prayer, recommended acts of prayer. So we'll go to them very quickly. The takbir is when you start your prayer. And by here, he means the raising of the arms, okay? Because we said the takbir, or rather, no. Rather, what he means here, takbiruhu ma'a shuru', is that not the takbiratul ihram. Takbiratul ihram is what? What is the hukm of takbiratul ihram?
Fard.
Fard, excellent. So that's a fard. The hukm of the rest of the takbir is a sunnah. The hukm of doing the takbir when you're starting off, when you're moving from position to position, is mustahab. So how do you do the takbir? You start as you're beginning to move, and you end as you end the position. Okay? So, if you're in the standing position, and then let's say you do takbir, Allahu Akbar. So by the time you go to ruku', you stop the takbir. Sami'a Allahu liman hamidah. And the same thing for sujood. Allahu Akbar. Okay? And so what would happen naturally? What would happen naturally is that the takbir for sujood is longer. The takbir for sujood is longer. Okay? And so people know intuitively what position you're going to. And especially for women, if the women are praying in a different section of the mosque without a TV, I know sometimes they have a TV, but sometimes the TV connection gets lost. It's like some kind of a wireless signal. Maybe they should install what's it called? Elon Musk satellites, right? Sometimes even between the same mosque, the signal gets lost. So if the imam is doing this the way of the mustahab way of doing the takbir, then there's no problem. Everyone knows which position he's going to, right? Or at least approximately which position he's going to. However, I have seen, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, when the imams unnecessarily elongate the takbir, they're like, Allahu Akbar. And they're just like going from qiyam to ruku'. Then some people accidentally go to sujood, And I've seen this, right? Or people, when they're getting up from sujood, they accidentally go all the way back up when they're supposed to get up to the julus, or they're sitting. Why? Because the imam is unnecessarily elongating takbir. So then he says, وَبَعْدَ أَنْ يَقُومَ مِنْ وُسْطَهُ. So after getting up from the middle, the one exception to this, when do you do the takbir? So what did we say is the mustahab, the recommended? When do you do the takbir?
At the start of the movement.
Excellent. Thank you, Brother Umar, mashallah. So the one exception to this is when you're getting up from the middle sitting in a 4 rak'ah prayer. That is in Dhuhr or Asr or Isha. Dhuhr, Asr, or Isha. So when you're getting up from the middle sitting, that is after doing tashahhud, after 2 rak'ahs, then you don't say Allahu Akbar as you're getting up from the middle sitting. Rather, what you do is you say Allahu Akbar when you're all the way up. So you wait until you're all the way up, and then you say Allahu Akbar. Okay? You wait until, you don't say Allahu Akbar. No. You wait until you're all the way up, and then you say Allahu Akbar. Okay? So that's one exception. And the hikmah behind that is it's as if you're opening, because the salah in its asl is 2 rak'ahs, right? It's in units of 2. So the hikmah behind that is it's as if you're opening a new unit of prayer. Okay? And so it's like you want to do it in the same position as you did the takbiratul ihram. Okay. When praying behind an imam, should he wait for the imam to finish his takbir before following? That is the best, the safest option, though it's not a problem also to do it slightly after the imam. But one should not do it simultaneously with the imam. right? The imam is there to follow, so one should do it slightly after the imam or just wait until he's done. Okay? Either one is okay. وعقده الثلاثة من يمناه لدى التشهد وبسط ما خلا تحريك سبابتها حين تلا. So when you're in reading the tashahhud, when you're reading the tashahhud, or you're doing the salawat in the middle sitting, what you do is, everyone has a different position. Now, this is probably one of the examples where you can see people have created hundreds of madhabs, and everyone has a different way that they move their finger in tashahhud, right? Some people are like side to side, some people are like circling, some people up and down, some people never move their finger, some people move their finger once. The right position, according again to the Maliki school, is that you clench your finger in a fist, like this. A loose fist, okay? You're not gonna punch anyone. It's just a loose fist. Trying to get the focus here. Okay. A loose fist. Then you extend your your pointer finger, your index finger, and your thumb you rest on the rest of the clenched fingers. Okay, so something like this. And then all you do is you move the index finger back and forth slowly. Okay. Tamam? Okay. You don't need to move it fast. You're not trying to get anyone's attention. You're not trying to distract the person next to you. Move it slowly, okay? All right. والبطن من فخذ رجال يبعدون ومرفقا من ركبة إذ يسجدون وصفة الجلوس تمكين اليد من ركبتيه في الركوع وزيد. Okay. The belly should not touch the thigh of the man, nor the elbow, his knee when prostrating. So essentially, as we said, for the man and women, for men and women, most of the ahkam of prayer are the same. Most of the ahkam of the prayer are the same. The one exception, or from among the exceptions, is that you keep your arms away from you if you're a man and closer to you if you're a woman. And similarly, you spread yourself out if you're a man and you gather yourself in if you're a woman. Okay? So how that manifests is that the man, when you're going in sujood, and now I can't really demonstrate without you guys not being able to see, but when you go for sujood, basically a man should keep his hands, some said, basically between the ears and the shoulders, and you keep your arms spread a bit, but again, you're not a Falcon Wing Lamborghini or X-Wing car or whatever these cars are, right? You're not trying to elbow the person next to you. And people do that. They're like, ugh. And they insist on keeping their elbows out. No. Without harming the person praying next to you, you spread your arms out, okay? And if it harms the person next to you, then you should keep your arms in. Your stomach, for man, you should keep as far away from the thighs as possible, but not more than 90 degrees, okay? Or rather, not more than when your legs are straight to the ground, if you know what I mean. When your thighs are straight or perpendicular to the ground. And similarly in ruku', again, a woman would gather herself in, a man would slightly spread out. Slightly is the key word. Please do not elbow people next to you. Okay. Let's see, did he mention anything else? Okay, some other notes about the positions. I'm going to mention all the notes about all the positions, right? And then I feel like we can take questions. All right. So, yeah, all the way into line 132. نصبهما قراءة المأموم في سرية وضع اليدين فاختفي لدى السجود حذو أذن وكذا رفع اليدين عند الإحرام خذا. So صفة الجلوس, how do you sit when you're praying? Okay, let's see, how can I demonstrate? Okay, how do you sit when you're praying? What do you do? Honestly, I think this is going to be too difficult to demonstrate. So what we're going to do, is we'll just show a picture, okay? Iftirash. And I think this picture will actually be very telling. Tawarruk. Sorry. So this is the sitting. I'm going to share my screen. This is the sitting that we're talking about, okay? No, not that sitting, this one. This is tawarruk. You see the one on the left? Let's see here. And maybe you can see a video.
في كل صلاة في
Wow, this is a long video with nothing, no substance. Okay. Let us see here. But you see in this video, this is called the Jalsat al-Tawarruk, and this is the mustahab way of sitting for everyone. Okay, for men and for women. Maliki method does not make a distinction. For men and for women, this is the mustahab way of sitting. Okay? Any questions there? Or let's wait until the end and then I'll answer all the questions, okay? تمكين اليديه من ركبتيه في الركوع وزيد نصبهما. So in ruku', the mustahab position, this one I should be able to demonstrate, is that you, can people see? Let's see if I can lower this a little. So you put your knees should be straight. Your knees should be straight. And your hands should be on your kneecaps. Your palms should be on your kneecaps. Your back should be straight. Okay? And your palms should be on your kneecaps. Your fingers spread slightly out, like this. Your fingers spread slightly out, not crazy out, but slightly out, so that you can grasp enough to keep your hands on your kneecaps. Okay? Your legs should be straight, but it can be slightly bent, but not overly bent, okay? Your back should be straight as well. And this is something, you know, again, unfortunately, the best people at this are the Salafis, you know? They always pray with the back very, very straight, mashallah. So this is something that, you know, us Sunni Muslims as well should revive as a sunnah, as we say, forgotten sunnahs. Keep your back straight. Do some back workouts, upward dog, downward dog, if you can't, you know, get your back in good shape. Definitely do some flexibility exercises. And if you truly can't, though I feel most people today can't because we don't exercise, but if you truly can't, then there's no harm. And do whatever you can to fulfill the ruku'. نصبهما قراءة المأموم في سرية وضع اليدين فاختفي. To recite when the imam is reciting silently, for the follower to recite, we talked about that before, along with the imam. That is mustahab in the Maliki madhab. You don't stay quiet, unlike the Hanafis, or sorry, no, the Shafi'i, I believe. Yeah, no, the Hanafis, they stay quiet. The Shafi'is, they read out loud and everything. The Malikis, we say we read quietly when the imam is quiet, and we don't read when the imam is reading. Okay? When the imam is reading out loud. Again, it is mustahab to recite silently when the imam is reciting silently. What is the hukam of remaining silent when the imam is reciting out loud? Anyone remember?
Because it is said in Quran that when Quran is recited, we have to listen to it carefully.
Excellent. Yes. That is the Quran ayah. But I'm asking, what is the hukm of remaining silent when the imam is reciting out loud? Does anyone remember? Sister Jessica doesn't remember, so you guys are gonna have to dig it out yourselves, inshallah. Can't save you here. What is the hukm of being silent when the imam is reciting out loud?
Sunan?
Excellent, Umar. All right, Umar carrying the team today, mashallah. Umar, are you still calling in from the UK?
Yes, I am, yes.
Mashallah, we got the London Maliki squad out there. All right. So yes, it is a sunnah to remain silent when the imam is reciting out loud. And it is mustahab to recite when the imam is reciting silently. Okay? And then وَضْعُ الْيَدَيْنِ فَقْتِفِي, to put the hands near the ears, near sujood, or near the shoulders. Anywhere between the ears and shoulders is fine. رَفْعُ الْيَدَيْنِ عِنْدَ الْإِحْرَامِ, to raise the hands when doing takbirat al-ihram. That is when starting the prayer, you say Allahu Akbar and start the prayer. Okay? And you can do it to the ears, you can do it to the shoulders, you can do it with your hands facing the ground, you can do it with the hands facing facing straight, the Qibla, and you can even do it with the hands facing the sky. All of those are possible positions, but the one I've seen most of the Imam doing, most of the Mashayikh doing, is just facing the Qibla or facing the ground. Okay? Sometimes my right knee doesn't touch the ground when sitting in the water position. That is completely okay. A-okay. All right, well, let's take a brief pause here. Come back, answer questions, and finish the mustahabbat, inshallah. How does that sound? All right. All right, inshallah. We're almost done with the mustahabbat, so we should be done very soon, inshallah. All right, 2-minute break. Get up, get some coffee. Maybe not coffee if it's night. If it's morning, get some coffee. Get some tea. Stretch your legs. Splash some snow in your face, Umar. Inshallah, we'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started again. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Just to get started with some questions. Amar Haq said the takbir said by the follower behind the Imam, are they silent or can be said aloud? It can be said aloud. And if we're talking about the takbiratul ihram, it's actually mustahab to say it out loud for everyone. Mustahab, sunnah to say it out loud. All right? I believe mustahab, yeah. Mustahab to say it out loud for everyone, okay? And that's why, yeah, I remember when I was, especially in Taymarat, when I was in Taymarat, they would, the followers, for about the first 30 seconds of the prayer, and it was honestly a special prayer. It was a serene prayer. You're out in the desert, and most of the prayers are done outside, except the noon prayer, which is done indoors because of the heat. But most of the prayers are done outside. You're looking straight because that is the stronger position in the Maliki madhab. You're looking straight, so you see the desert out in front of you, and the Imam, he reads beautifully, but with meaning and power, and not just a sing-song voice that's like a tune, right? It does have a tune, but it's not about the beauty of the voice, it's about the beauty of the Quran. And so he's saying, reciting the Quran, and you will hear people coming in to the prayer, but for the first 30 seconds, the people who are joining, and people don't join late there, right? Vast majority of people are joining the first rak'ah. So as soon as the Imam says Allahu Akbar, they all say Allahu Akbar, and you can hear it. And then you'll hear people who are joining a little bit later, they'll say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So you continue to hear Allahu Akbar for the first 30 seconds as the Imam is reading. So that is to say it out loud is a mustahab, but only for the takbiratul ihram, not for the rest of the takbirat. Okay. And then what's the next question here? It's confirming.
So I just had a follow-on question for the last point.
تفضل سيدي.
Yeah, so you said the rest of the takbirat is all we don't have to say it like out loud, so we still do say it, right? The ma'mun, the followers.
Yeah, you still do say it, yeah. You still do say it. Mustahab to say it, yeah. Or it's still a sunnah to say it, right? Right. It's still a sunnah to say it, but it doesn't invalidate your prayer if you miss it because you're following behind the imam.
Okay.
Is tawarruk to be done in both this? Okay, let's see. A lot of questions, mashallah. I love it. I love it. Okay, does the fist go back to resting on the hand after the tashahhud finishes, or does it just stay for the rest of the julus? No, when you're in the tashahhud position, if you're, first of all, if you're the imam or you're praying alone, you're doing it the whole time. And as soon as you're done, you go to the next position, right? Or you say salam. You say salam or you stand up for the third rak'ah, depending on which julus you're in. If you're the follower, then you should be reciting dua the whole time. And not just the tashahhud, the salawat. And then after that, you can recite any dua. It's a time of istijaba, when you're in salah. And so if you're done with the tashahhud, you're done with the salawat upon the Prophet ﷺ, and the imam is still not finished, you can keep reciting any dua. You can say Allahu Akbar, dhikr, any dhikr. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahumma Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana. You can recite any dhikr. And during this time you're reciting the dhikr, you should keep your finger moving. Okay? All right.
Even like if it's your second rak'ah and the imam is the last rak'ah in the 4 rak'ah salah, so you just do up to tashahhud, right? And then you're waiting for the.
You're joining. Wait, no. You would not do just the tashahhud. When you join the imam, we'll talk about how to make up the prayer, right? But when you join the imam, you're doing everything the imam is doing. So if it's his last tashahhud, you're doing the tashahhud and the salawat with him.
Even though it's your second, first julus.
Yes, even though, yeah. Because you're doing everything the Imam is doing. That's the underlying principle. Sometimes my right knee doesn't touch the ground. I think we discussed that. That's fine. Yeah. Is tawarruk to be done in both the sitting? Yes. Muhammad Yasin, yes. Greg, for tawarruk as an alternative to having one's foot, is it similarly recommended to have one's right foot resting on the side with inner ankle down? Or would that be sabab? Yeah, if someone can't do the bent toes, I know it requires some foot flexibility. Then you should rest it to the side, and that's good. But if you can do the bent toes, then that's the best position. Okay. Umar says, is the takbir al-ihram allowed even for Dhuhr and Asr? Yes, it is allowed for every prayer. Greg, should one sit in tawarruk between sujood, or is iftirash acceptable? One should sit in tawarruk, and you will get used to it, I promise you. When the first time I started doing tawarruk, it was a little awkward, and you had to build up the muscle. It does require some abs, you could say, some abdominal muscle. Okay? So the good thing is you're gonna get some abs, inshallah. I can do it, but sometimes I get cramp. Yeah, if you get cramp, then if you can't do it, again, if you can't do it for out of pain, or you're going to the space is very tight and you're gonna push someone on the side. By the way, yeah, that's haram to bother the person next to you, to bother the person in prayer. So in this case, you can sit in any way. And yes, probably iftirash is better because it is one of the narrative sunnahs. And other madhahib take by it as well. Some of the other madhahib. So in this case, yeah, you can do iftirash or you can do any other sitting. Where do we look at during the ruku' and sitting? You always look straight. Kind of like not up in the sky, but just straight. Why? Because Allah said in the Quran, فَوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ شَطْرَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ, and turn your face towards Masjid al-Haram. And your eyes are part of your face. So we give the Malikis give preponderance to that evidence that the Quran ayah, your eyes are part of your face, so everything should be turned towards Masjid al-Haram. Okay? But if you're looking down, there's no issue. Some Malikis said you can look down. Or you should look down even. These were not answered. When praying behind an imam, should we wait for the imam to finish his takbir before following? No, I answered that one, yeah. Do you need, excellent, mashallah, jumping on it. Do you need to move it when you are not reciting anything? I'm not sure, but you should be reciting something. You can recite anything. You can recite a dhikr. You can recite, if you know nothing, you can just say Allah, 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 Allah. That's it. It's an opportunity for dhikr, so why not do dhikr, right? Khalid says, so we do tawarruk in every jalsa? Yes, tawarruk in every jalsa. Abu Umar, you've been waiting patiently. See the Carlos, tafaddal.
Jazakallah khairan, ya Ustadh.
Jazakallah.
My question is, the reason I want to ask because I have two boys, and so one of them puts his elbows on the ground in sujood. And so I want to correct them, but I'm not too sure. I personally don't do it, but is that a correct?
It's he's leaving a mustahab, and perhaps it is makruh. I'm not. I have to review it. It could be makruh, but again, I would focus on if he's fixed this fara'id, right, and then you can move to sunan, and then you can move to mustahabbat. That's what learning fiqh teaches us. Is you start with the most important. You start with the fard. Actually, you start with avoiding the haram, even before the fard. Even before the fard, you start with avoiding the haram. And if they've avoided the haram, then you do the fard. And if you do the fard, then you do the sunnah. And if you do the sunnah, then you do the mustahab, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Right.
And then I have questions about the spreading out. So, like when praying by oneself, how far, because you said not to go out too far when praying in Jama'ah, which seems it's reasonable. But when if you go off by yourself because you don't have time to go home to do those like the nafil prayer. So how far does that spread look like, or do we just try to keep it not spread too out our hands and the arms in the prayer?
Everything should be normal. Basically, what the salah is calling you to is to return to your original state of servitude to Allah and slavehood to Allah. And the original state is everything is normal, you know? You don't overextend everything, you know?
Mhm.
And even the difference we mentioned for men and for women, that's normal, you know? Like, if you take a man on his fitrah, I know nowadays they call it, I don't know, they have some term for men, you know, spreading out their body, right? I
Mhm.
forgot the term.
Man spread.
Man spreading, there we go. But that's normal. That's like a man on his fitrah. Of course, to like go like this is like, you know, excessive. But men want to spread out and women tend to keep themselves together, right? And so what the salah is calling you to is to come back to your fitrah. And so for a man, you keep, I mean, for men and women, you keep your legs, you know, shoulder length, you know, not, you know, some people are ridiculous. Like they have they're about to do the splits. They're about to fall into the splits with their legs from one end to the other. But you keep your legs together. Similarly for the arms, you know, not, again, that's not what we said, you know, you're not trying to X-wing over here, just a medium amount, less than 45 degrees, probably, right? That's what I've seen. And again, if you're gonna hit someone, then you reduce it. You reduce it. Because their haqq is greater than your mustahab. Okay. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, and I do have one last one, but it has nothing to do with the hukum of the salah. Maybe
Yeah.
I should save to after the class, like towards the end of the class, or
Yeah, let's save it till the end, actually, inshallah.
okay.
All right. And one thing I wanted to mention before I forget, in 15 minutes, there will be a session for sisters only that my wife is doing on fiqh of hayd. My wife and her friend. So you can invite your Hanafi friends as well. Ustadh Raisa, she'll be doing for the Hanafis, and my wife will be doing for the Malikis. And that session is in 15 minutes. And if you're in my Telegram channel, you might have seen the poster. If not, if somebody can share it, I think some people here are going to go, inshallah. And that's in 15 minutes online. So you can get the link for that. Fiqh of Hayd for Maliki and Hanafi. Yes, exactly, Sister Jessica. Yeah. It's going to be like back-to-back sessions, really. So, inshallah, somebody can share it, inshallah. Let's keep going to the other questions. Muhammad Yasin, is evidence for moving finger in tashahhud from hadith or amal? There are hadith about it, yeah. There are hadith about it. And that's why you'll see actually many Salafis, they move their finger. But again, how you interpret this hadith is from the mujtahids. Brother Greg, sorry, not related to, okay. Let's answer the unrelated questions right after. We're almost done with the mustahabbat. He says on line number 133, تطويله صبحا وظهرا سورتين توسط العشاء قصر الباقيين كالسورة الأخرى كذا الوسطى استحب سبق يد وضع وفي الرفع الركب. That he should recite long surahs in the subh and dhahar salah, medium length ones at Aisha, and shorter ones for the other two salah. And likewise recite a shorter surah in the second rak'ah. So in subh and dhahar, in subh and dhahar, it is mustahab to recite an entire surah from the surahs between Surah Al-Hujurat and Nazi'at, between including Surah Al-Hujurat and Al-Nazi'at. Okay? Surah Al-Hujurat, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي. Surah Al-Nazi'at والنازعات غرقا. I think everyone knows that. Recite one of those surahs in Subh and Dhuhr. In Subh, from the beginning, from the longer of those surahs, and from Dhuhr, from the shorter of those surahs. Then in Asr and Maghrib, you recite from the shortest surahs. The shortest surahs are from Surah Al-Duha to the end of the Quran. Surah Al-Duha, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ مَا قَلَى. That to the end of the Quran. That's the shortest surahs you recite in Asr and Maghrib. And finally, the middle surahs you say for Isha, which is Abasa wa Tawalla, all the way until وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. Okay? So this is the mustahab. Now, when you are an imam, when you are an imam of a congregation, and you don't know the people in that congregation, meaning it's a masjid or it's a public event, or you know that there are people there that would be distracted or bothered if you had a long salah, it is obligatory. It is obligatory to shorten the prayer. And this is directly from the hadith. Or sorry, not it is obligatory, but it is from the sunnah to shorten the prayer. Okay? It is from the sunnah to shorten the prayer. As for the exact hukum, I'll fish that out, inshallah. I believe it's a mustahab and makruh to extend. But nevertheless, it's a sunnah to shorten the prayer. Okay? It's a sunnah to shorten the prayer. Because there are elderly people who can't stand for a long time. There are people who have work they have to get back to. And no, it's not haram to work. They're making the time to come to the masjid. So we honor that. There are women, mothers, who have crying babies. And then those babies, because they're crying, they annoy everyone else. And then they tell that mother never to come back to the masjid. So it is mustahab and is a sunnah, perhaps greater than mustahab. I'll get the exact hukum. But it is from the sunnah to shorten the prayers in congregation so that to make it easy for everyone to attend. Okay? Unfortunately, this is another sunnah that's lost today. They make the prayers very long and hard to go to the masjid for. And it is sunnah to make the recitation in the second rak'ah smaller than the recitation in the first. And the second tashahhud longer than the first. The second sitting longer than the first. And that's going to happen naturally because you're going to do the salawat, right? سَبْقُ يَدًا وَضَعًا وَفِي الرَّفْعِ الرُّكَبِ. The last mustahab, finally, is to put the hands, when you're going into sujood, you go in and you put the hands first on the ground, okay? You put the hands first on the ground. And then you come down. And similarly, when you're getting up, you push off the ground first with your hands, and then with your knees. So it's hands first and then knees. And this will also help reduce the tension on your knees. And so just, keeps your knees healthy, inshallah. But that will stop there for today. We'll answer any quick questions for anyone who's going to the class after, because it's in 10 minutes for women only. They'll feel free to leave, inshallah. Let me answer some of the questions, inshallah. Let's see here. The middle surahs are from what? The middle surahs are from Abasa wa Tawalla all the way to Surah Al-Layl. Abasa wa Tawalla, an ja'ahu al-a'ma, ma yadrika la'allahu yazakka, all the way to Surah Al-Layl. Is there any recommended recordings of the text to follow for reciting along for memorization? There's many. MashaAllah. Brother Greg has the British Malikis down. We got Sheikh Saad Al-Azhari. Yes, I would recommend pretty much anything he recommends, inshallah. Umar says, when going in sajda, hands first, then knees. For getting up, knees first, then hands. No, for getting up, Yeah, you're right. For getting up, you lift the knees off first, and then you lift the hands. Yeah. Thank you, Brother Amar, for that. Okay, inshallah. There was another. Okay, Brother Greg said, does one have to finish the prayer before the end of its time for it to be counted as on time, or is it sufficient to just have started it? You have to pray one rak'ah, and I believe we'll get to that. We'll get to that, inshallah. Okay. And I believe, Brother Carlos, you had a question.
I posted it up there. Other than that, it was just about the falling for memorization or to be said along with the text. And the
Yeah.
only other thing was like if there was like vocab lists or something that goes with the text, because for me personally, I like to recite the Arabic, but it doesn't stick because there might be like 30-40% of the words I don't understand, or I may
Yeah.
know them, but because of the context, like I need to work that out, but sometimes I need to know like why is it like this, you know.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I get that. And you have the version that's the translation?
I have the one by Ali Al-Ariki.
Okay, get the PDF of this as well. I believe it's available if somebody can share it and find it in the group. Otherwise, there's another PDF, the translation, because the one by Sheikh Ali, he doesn't have a line-by-line translation, but you see this is a line-by-line translation,
Okay.
and that will help you a lot, inshallah.
I
So
have one. I apologize.
go ahead.
I do have one. The thing is, maybe this might be a me problem, but like
Yeah.
I'll look, I was like, this is not word to word, so I'm not too sure like how, like what's
How it lines up.
yeah. So sometimes that's the problem I have. Like I've learned through trial and error, like for the most part, I'll stick to it. But it might be just because the Tawheed part is the hardest one of this text. Before I did this class, I was going over that. I was like, well, this is a beast. And so I kind of gave up in a way because there's a lot, it's very technical and there's terms that are very just
Yeah.
specific to theology. But maybe I'll try it again with going through the fiqh, the hukm of the fiqh. Right?
Inshallah, yeah, the fiqh is much easier. The tasawwuf is comfort for the heart. It's interesting. I'll give that feedback actually to a couple folks I know working on a translation. That perhaps one of the great benefits is to have a translation that's a list of vocab. I don't think that exists yet. And perhaps it's also a project that, some of the students can do, inshallah. But I would just say like it is possible to memorize as long as you have, and then use a dictionary. You can use I would actually say ChatGPT is very good nowadays. So what you can do is you can actually grab the line from on the web, and I'll get you a version that's on the web. Okay.
Okay.
You grab that line, put it in ChatGPT, and it will spit out. And you can even tell it, give me a word by word translation, and it'll be pretty accurate.
Okay. And it's my thing. Like even I just juz amma and then I'll forget the next day. So it's like it's partially
No,
me.
it's very true. Anything that I have not understood the meaning of is much harder to memorize, for sure.
Yeah.
With Quran, it's very possible, and that's from وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. But that's a karama of the Quran, not a karama, but a miracle of the Quran. In any case, let's being wary of time here. Says Jessica, yep, yeah, definitely easier to memorize when you have when you understand the lines. Khalid, when going on Umrah, what is the opinion of using unscented soap or deodorant when in the state of ihram? Unscented soap. Unscented soap is permissible for your hands and for your feet. for your hands, at least for the shirt. باطن كفيهما. I'll answer that question after class, inshallah, since it's unrelated, and make sure I get the correct answer. Deodorant, I'm pretty sure would not be permissible. Okay. So last thing, excellent job on the quiz submissions. I've gotten a lot of them. If I haven't replied to you already, please bump. Just, I get, getting a lot of messages. So just say, just say salam, or even just drop a period, or just say quiz, and I will take a look again, inshallah. But many of you did very well, mashallah. I love to see the demonstrations. I love to hear the memorization. This is keeping the tradition alive. And alhamdulillah, we're using technology to do it. Previously, this is something people would travel to far lands to seek and to find. But alhamdulillah, for technology and the good that it brings, and may Allah protect us from the evil that it brings. In the one mistake that I saw many people do in demonstrations of wudu is that it is not necessary to what is called tatabbu' al-ghudun. You don't have to what do you call in English? How would you say in English? Follow the crevices of the ears, or the specific creases of your ear, right? When you're doing the masah. All you have to do is take your index and your thumb and wet them, put them like this. Let's see, on one ear, if I can demonstrate. I hope everyone can see my ear. And you just wipe it all the way to the top. Khalas. Okay, you just wipe it all the way to the top. You don't have to go like this and all the ear. And in fact, there's actually makruh, according to many of the ulama. It's actually disliked because it is from excessiveness. Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and stop for today. نسأل الله أن يعلمنا ما ينفعنا وينفعنا بما علمنا إنه على ما يشاء قدير وبالإجابة جدير ونعم المولى ونعم النصير وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I'm sorry, Muhammad Yasin, if you had a question, feel free to message me, inshallah. All right, inshallah. Stop there for today. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa fikum barakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikum salam.
وعليكم السلام.
Assalamu alaikum.